All right. Let's say welcome everyone. This is another Consciousness Ascending presentation. This is episode 77 of Accelerating Your Journey. My name is Benny Ferguson. I channel the non-physical collective known as Abraham. This is a beautiful Monday, November the 24th, and we are excited to be here. We're excited not just to be here and to be of support, but have the opportunity to assist you in accelerating the process of your growth and expansion, accelerating your understanding of the journey of enlightenment that you are on, your potential, your place of power, rediscovering the truth of you in source that will enable you to live the life you are inspired to live, whatever that means to you, and become that which you are inspired to become, whatever that be, whatever that means and is, with perfect precision to you in your life. If you find value in this interaction or any of the interactions that you discover on this channel, on this platform, be sure to subscribe so that you're alerted whenever new content is uploaded, so that you're alerted when we are live again for these type interactions, which are powerful, by the way. If this is your first time, we do have a brief question and answer session that we hold through the chat, and those are tremendous, absolutely tremendous. If you look back at any of the previous lives, be sure to hang in there to the end, because they each have a question and answer session at the end, in which we field the comments, the questions, the inspirations that are felt by those who are participating. Check the description. Check the description for ways to connect with us more deeply. Check the and we have more information to put in there, but check the profile, where you click the more and go to the about area of this platform. Check there to find and see ways that you can connect to the community that exists outside of this platform, receiving information, weekly newsletters, writings that support you, and also being aware of events that we host outside of this platform. We offer private sessions for those challenges that you have right in the immediate, in this present moment, that you are feeling stuck on. And we also offer a private community, which is probably and possibly the most grandest of offerings that you can find on your plane of existence. It's not a program, it's not a course, it is a community of which you join and become a life member of, receiving the support of those who are on the path the same as you, having consistent access to us, no matter your question, no matter your position. And that is the ultimate in having the process accelerated through a specific plan and process of rediscovery of the self. Again, we're excited to be here. We're excited for each of you who are supporting us in the creation of this interaction. We're excited for those of you who have found this recording and are allowing us to be of support in that manner. Today's topic. Let's talk about, what did we say? If attention is a highway, many are going the wrong direction. If attention is a highway, many are going the wrong direction. Perhaps your attention is off. If you have yet to experience that which you are intending, that which you are desiring, perhaps your attention is off. For many on this path of growth and expansion, many on the journey of enlightenment, if you are open to these type transmissions, you have, we are sure, some understanding of the inner creative process. You are on the path of accepting, or have accepted, at least intellectually, that you are creating. You have seen evidence that you are creating your experience, that you have a major role, if not all of the role, in the creation of your experience. You are connected to your experience vibrationally. Now, were you came in contact with the undesired experience, Were you expressing that feeling right in that moment? Maybe not. Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it was the day before yesterday. Benny had an experience a couple of weekends ago in which he knew immediately, almost immediately, that he was in an experience of which he connected himself to the night before at a basketball game. He knew it. He has trained himself to be aware and to pinpoint and to connect the energies, right? The faces may change, locations change probably, but how the experience makes you feel in relationship to how you have felt before, or an expression that you made vibrationally, energetically, is what connects you to experience in the next present moment. That's why we are passionate about describing in the initial that you become more and more consistent at just expressing and reaching for higher frequency, because higher frequency, higher vibration, becoming more and more aware of that which you are offering and how it goes before you and paves the ground before you, and how it connects you to experience, whether desired or undesired. The more attuned you become to that process and how you are affecting that process and how you are aligning yourself to experience, the more your awareness expands and the more powerful you become. And this is outside of having an intention. You're doing this because you can. You're doing this because it is foundational. And it's critical that you build a firm foundation in the knowing and the understanding of this process, this creative process, the inner creative process that has always been in motion for you, whether you were conscious of it or not. That's in motion for every being who is human, whether they are conscious of it or not. And the more you play and practice with understanding who you are and what you are capable of, the more you see it playing out in those around you. Not from a judgment standpoint, but from an awareness standpoint. You see how the inner creative process, how they are engaging the inner creative process, and how it is materializing around them as an experience, and they don't even know it. And the more you see it playing out in others, the more you gain control over it within yourself, because your awareness of what's truly happening is expanding more and more and more. Now, the challenge for many, even those who are seasoned in this information, the challenge is still the amount of material flooding in through their external senses. That's probably one of the biggest challenges. It's the first challenge. The inner conflict, the dominant ideas that have already been sown and established within your mind and body that conflict with your desires, that conflict with your inspirations, are not even the first issue. Well, maybe they're the first issue. Maybe these two run neck and neck. You have the inner conflict that you become aware of. The dominant ideas that are already existing, that are born of low vibration, that are in contrast and conflict with your desires, which always, if you achieve that success, if you experience that desire, feels good, which means it's in a higher vibration, higher frequency place. The dominant ideas already existing within you are priority one. If they are priority one, then the material that's flooding in through your external senses constantly, that is at this moment proving those ideas true, is priority number two. And you really can't affect, you're not affecting that. You begin to do the things that do affect what you see. You begin to affect the things that do affect the color that you see and the color of the momentum that has been created, the color of the experiences that are being created in every next present moment. You do this foundationally by just affecting the vibration that you're offering. playing with a higher frequency. Now, where we were going is that the challenge for those who were seasoned at the information, at this type information, they understand the creative process. They understand the power of emotion and focus and all of these things. And they're doing their best to focus on that which they intend. They understand the idea of the vortex and your intentions. Yes, they already exist, but they exist on a certain plane of frequency. And most of you haven't attained that level of frequency as a consistent offering, and therefore you are still out of alignment with those intentions, with those inspirations, with those desires. And the reason you're still out of alignment is because many of your intentions are based in what you do not want to experience. If attention is a highway, many are going the wrong direction. Perhaps your attention is off. And that's what that means. You have intentions. You have desires. You understand focus. You understand the vortex. You understand that they have an energy signature, an energy presence. And you know what it feels like. You've played in your meditation. You know what it feels like. But when you're not in meditation and you're going about your day and you're playing and practicing with your intentions, many of you are still making the mistake of not being aware that how you're holding your intention is rooted in the avoidance of that which you do not want. And it's very subtle. And yet it has huge impact because the inner creative process is very delicate. It's very specific. Benny had this experience, has had this experience, had it for many, many years. Doesn't do all of these things. He's a good guy, right? And yet he didn't feel like he had good guy experiences, good person experiences. And he was right. The majority of the time, they weren't great. They were disrespectful type experiences. They were low value type experiences, something that was believed to be of lesser value, how you would treat that type of thing. You know what that means. You know how it feels. Those were his normal experiences. Why? Because the goodness, the niceness that he was displaying was rooted in fear. It was rooted in low vibrational ideas of desiring to be accepted, desiring to be acknowledged, desiring to be attended to. All of these ideas that became dominant ideas expressing themselves through him from a social standpoint, but born inside of the family dynamic in direct relation to his relationship with his parent idea. So all of these things that he felt he was lacking, the mind and the body developed a mechanism of trying to attain those things, but the efforts were rooted in a fear, in a low vibration belief in the absence. And therefore his experience was in large part a reflection of the belief in the absence of those things. Meaning, you have intention of beautiful relationship, whether familial or intimate or at your jobs. You have intention of abundance, an abundance of resources, an abundance of money. You have intention of success. Success in your career, success in your businesses. But if these intentions are rooted in the fear or the desire not to have an experience, then your actual attention and your focus is in the undesired. If you're desiring to have beautiful relationship because you have experienced not so great relationship and you do not want to have that experience anymore, and that's why you're intending beautiful relationship, your focus is the undesired. If you're desiring an abundance of resources, because you feel you are experiencing lack and scarcity in your resources, then your attention and your focus is actually on the lack and scarcity of resources, the belief in your experience in a lack and scarcity of resources, and that's why you're intending, but your focus and your attention at its core is really on the lack of the thing. If you're desiring success in any way in your life because you do not want to experience failure or the absence of success anymore, then your attention and your focus is actually on that which you do not desire. And that's why it seems so difficult to achieve. That's why it seems so hard to achieve. That's why you sabotage yourself. That's where the 1 step forward, 2 steps back idea comes from. Because your effort to be a success is countered by your belief in the absence of success. And the inner creative process is energetically, vibrationally directed by where your focus and attention is. And this is the challenge. Many have an intention, but they don't realize, but their intention is actually rooted in the fear of what they don't want. It's rooted in the belief of that which they don't want. And that idea is dominant. That idea is what they're actually sowing into the inner creative process. And then your weeks, months, years, and have yet to achieve or experience the intention, or experience the intention consistently. It's because you're on the wrong highway. You're going the wrong direction, and you don't even realize it. When you have an intention, it has to be pure. And when we say pure, we mean that it has to be the reason for the intention. I desire to be successful because I am a success, not because I don't want to be unsuccessful, not because I don't want to fail. That's different. I intend to be successful because I am a success. I intend to experience beautiful relationships because I am one who creates beautiful relationships. I intend to experience abundance because I am abundant. In those statements, if they come from your core, if they reach and are rooted in your core, then there's no fear at the bottom. There's no incongruency. There's no thought of that which is undesired. This is subtle, very subtle, and yet critical because the inner creative process is very delicate. This simple understanding lies buried or exists as a blind spot to many on this path. Many who have been on this path for many, many years, who have heard it all before. Right? Many of you on this call, you've heard all of this stuff before. The people that we come in contact with, in large part, have been on this path for many, many years. They understand it, and yet they have this information, but it's not connected. It's like a lot of different pieces to a puzzle that are not connected. And one of the underlying frames of the puzzle that is missing is that you can have blind spots in where you're placing your attention. You can think you're doing the right thing, but if you are intending based on what you don't want to experience, you're actually believing in, and your attention and your focus is actually on what you don't want to experience. No matter how hard you try to be a good person, a nice person. No matter how long you sit in meditation on abundance. If you're doing that because you're tired of being in lack and scarcity, you're focused on lack and scarcity. And it's highly possible that your affirmations and things are not overcoming the passion, the fierce passion that you have to no longer experience lack and scarcity. The fierce passion that you have, energy, the energy around the idea, the fierce passion that you have to not have that type of relationship again. The fierce passion that you have to not have that type of experience at work anymore. The fierce passion that you have to not fail at this business again. So you have two things going on. If you're focusing your attention is on, if you're doing the things so that you don't experience a thing, you're actually focused on the thing. And if you're trying to be consistent in your affirmations and your meditations and you're visualizing and you're doing all of the things, and yet you are not sowing and connecting a level of passion to those ideas, to the new ideas that is not bigger and stronger than the passion you have to no longer experience the undesired, then the new ideas that you're sowing never reach the strength in energy to become dominant over that which you are moving away from. When you talk about the energy around an idea, when you talk about the emotion that's tagged to an idea that gives it strength, that makes it dominant. If you're not being fiercely passionate, if you're not about the process of releasing an idea simultaneously while you're sowing a new one, and you're not establishing a level of passion, energy, emotion to an idea, a new idea that is bigger and more electric and more explosive than the passion you have for what you don't want to experience, then the old pattern will stay dominant. No matter how much you meditate, no matter how much you visualize. A traumatic event can be established immediately. A traumatic event can establish a new idea within your mind and body immediately. Not because of the idea, but because of the passion, the energy, the emotion of the experience. And when you understand that, you understand a key. Because the same thing can happen, does happen, in your establishing of a new idea that you desire to be dominant in your life. You can have an idea, yes, that's nice, that's cool. It's a new idea. It would be great to have as an experience. But in that lightness, in that softness of your entertaining the idea, that is not the energy that will make it dominant over those old patterns of which you are passionate about. You have to, one, establish a level of passion and energy connected to a new idea that will make it dominant over old patterns, or two, understand and know how to go about releasing old patterns or weakening them while simultaneously establishing a new idea. One works a lot quicker than the other. Both are effective. But if your attention is on and is truly and actually on that which you do not desire, do not want to experience anymore, if that's why you're being a good person, if that's why you're doing all of the meditations and the affirmations, you're still focused below the surface, unawares on that which you do not desire, and that is what you are still creating for yourself. That's what you're resonating, because it's below the surface, still there. And the passion that you have in your visualizations and your affirmations and all the things that you're doing is actually passion for the idea that you do not want to experience. And all of that effort, you're still fueling that idea. You're still giving it life. You're still in that loop. And you're seeing it out there as experience, and you know when you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to experience that anymore. I do not want to experience that anymore. That's the reason you're still seeing it. It's because you passionately are trying to move away from it. And that passion is giving it life and continuing the loop of expression, experience. Not experience, expression, but expression, experience. Expression, experience. And you break the loop by doing the two things that we offered, and or in your meditation, making sure that you're pure in your expression. Making sure that your expression is purely of the intention and not actually rooted in anything undesired. Benny has come across the idea a long time ago. Right? But sometimes experience has to catch up with the information in order for it to be integrated into your being and applied with consistency. There's a different state of being that exists when you are no longer passionately desiring to win and no longer passionately desiring not to lose. When you're no longer passionately desiring to be a success, and when you're no longer passionately desiring not to be a failure. There's a state of being that exists free of both of these ideas, that allows the truth of you to shine through more and more. Now, does that mean you're no longer efforting to be? No. What it means is that the passionate desire to be successful is a cloud. It can create blind spots. The passionate desire to no longer be a failure is a cloud and creates blind spots. Being absent or free of both of these ideas allows your inspirations to come through more and more clearly, and allows you to be able to more quickly act on those inspirations, because the weight of success, whatever that means, and the weight of to no longer be a failure are no longer present. The same with the passionate desire to win, the passionate desire not to lose. Benny had this materialize in front of him firsthand in experience as a basketball coach for his son's summer league this past summer. And he's coached many seasons there from when his boys first started playing basketball, just to have the experience with them. And of course, he wanted them to be a success. He wanted them to, and the team to experience success, and they didn't in those first seasons, really not winning any games at all. And so he was researching basketball strategy, and we're talking hundreds of hours. When he gets into it, he's serious. Researching hundreds of hours of different strategies and ways to go about basketball and all of these things. And unawares of his fears, his insecurities manifesting in the basketball team, which he realized this past summer. There's always been an individual on their team that was his self-sabotage physically manifest, that conflicted with his ability to coach at the highest and for the team to perform at the highest. And when he realized that this past summer and he released those ideas, that conflict disappeared. And when he released the idea of desiring to win, whether it was for himself or for his boys or for the team, and released the desire not to lose, it didn't just clean up his energies and his ability to express and be a coach, a motivator, an inspirer in the highest, but it also cleaned up the team's energies. They don't know it. They didn't know what was happening because he was the coach, his energy was dominant over the team. And by cleaning up those things, it not only cleaned him up, but it cleaned the team's energy up. And over the course of his coaching at that particular organization with his boys and on their teams, they got to the championship game 3 times. This summer, they finally won it because of the shifts that he made internally that were then reflected in the performance of him as a coach and his team on the court. This energy game that you're playing, these things that you are understanding and learning, affect every area of life, because every area is born of the energies and the frequencies that you offer. Everything is affected first, as we said in the beginning, by your tone, what you're offering, even before you have an intention. And the ideas that may be guiding you may be blind to them. The integrative process is very delicate, and what you are offering from your core, whether it's desired or undesired, is what is registering as your true intention. And although you may have a mixed bag of experience sometimes, there are experiences that are most consistent, most dominant, most regular. And those are what are reflecting the dominant ideas within you. And the more you clean up, excitedly, joyfully, thank you for the awareness, the more you clean up any and all ideas that conflict with your intentions, the freer you become, the more expanded your awareness becomes, and the more you begin to realize your potential to affect creation and to create creation. And the acceleration of that process, the speeding up of that process for you as an individual, is why we're here. That's our purpose. And we'll be honest with you, the closer you get to us and the more consistent you interact with us, the faster the process will speed up for you. Right? This is the challenge. The closer you get and the more consistent the interactions you have, and the faster you can have not only getting this type of information, and not even the information, but interacting with our energies, and then getting the answers to the questions that bubble up in your spirit based on your experience and where you are right now in this present moment. And then your play and practice with us and individually on your own of releasing and sowing based on your experience and your intentions. Those 3 things speed up the process. And we're not talking about tomorrow. No, we're not talking about tomorrow, but we're talking about 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. You are completely a different person, and you know it. You know it. And you draw yourself closer and closer and closer to the experiences that you are inspired to and that you actually desire. You draw yourself closer. You can feel yourself closer to the types of relationships because of the play and practices you've been engaged in. You can feel yourself closer to the abundance that you are inspired to. You can feel yourself closer to the success you are inspired to, because you have released so many clouds. You have released and re-established and are reforming the mental framework and your ability to remain in alignment, that you can feel your intentions drawing closer and closer, because you now feel more and more capable. You now feel more and more that you have the capacity to command it. You now feel more and more that you are worthy of the thing. The absence of value, the absence of being worthy is not standing or creating distance between you and the thing. And that's what we desire for you. That's what we know is possible. So, thank you. Thank you again for those of you who have supported us in the creation of this interaction. We're thankful for those of you who have found this recording and allowed us to be of support. If you have or have been inspired to an idea, if you have any questions that you would like for us to entertain, place those in the chat and we'll take a few moments to interact with those. If you have been inspired to new awareness, do us a favor. Throw those in the comment section for those that come after. That not only the information that we have shared, but also that which you have been inspired to as expanded awareness can be a spark and an inspiration for those who come after and find these recordings. If you're inspired to do that, that's powerful. And it also, that subtle action of typing it out, that action sows and creates fuel to the integration of that information even more and more inside of your being, that it becomes an active part of who you are, materializing through your states of being. So it has multiple effects of, just sharing that. Again, if you're inspired. So again, if you have any ideas at this moment, place them in the chat and we'll take a look at them. All right. Hey, Catherine. And Las Vegas. Let's see. Hey, Benny. If I want to manifest a new career but don't know exactly what that looks like and have all the details, is it helpful to focus on the generalized feeling of what I want? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because all of the information is in the feeling. Alignment is the feeling. And because you asked that question, we know you understand feeling. We know you understand alignment. You have played with it. And we know that because you were able to ask that specific question. When you look back at times that you have been in alignment with a thing or with an idea, can you remember how events unfolded with that idea? How the information began to show up? And just like when you're looking for a new residence or looking for a house or an apartment and you start visiting different locations and you say, I like that, but I don't like that. I would like that, not that so much. And you start making a list of the things that you want based on your experience. It's the same thing when I want to go to this, we're going out to eat tonight. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what type of food. But I know I want to go and have a great time out with spouse or partner or family or friends. I know I want to go out and have a good time. Well, right after you say that intention, and this is in the morning, you want to go out, later on that evening. Right after you set that intention, guess what? You begin to focus on that idea. And it's a general idea, but you have the feeling. And over the course of, and this is how fast it happens that most of you haven't even noticed. This is how fast it happens. And we're talking about one day, this materialization. Over the course of the day, the information begins to flow, whether it's literal information or information, thoughts, based on that idea and that intention, and you have the feeling, whether you realize it or not, you're feeling what it's going to feel like for everybody to be laughing and having a good time, enjoying good food and just being in each other's company. You've already identified that feeling, whether you're aware of it or not. And over the course of the day, the type of food comes to you. The restaurant comes to you. All of those things come to you before you get to the time. This is how powerful it is. And yes, it just started with alignment and the feeling first. Right? Benny's been out in the car riding, not knowing what type of food that he or they wanted and not knowing the restaurant. But as the pressure mounts of what are we going to do? What do we want to eat? Where do we want to go? 10, 15, 20 minutes or so, less than that, but it's been that long before, writing and condensing that time frame, the thought of the type of food, all of those things came. And then the suggestions of the restaurants that had that type of food started coming. It's like, And then in one particular time, he saw a sign. He was like, he saw the sign, but inside of his body, the energy around the sign was saying, this is the place. And it was a restaurant they'd never been before. And the host was amazing at the door. The waiter was excellent. The food was excellent. There was laughter and all of these things all around them in the restaurant. Everything was in alignment. And it was a condensed time frame of materialization based on the focus and attention, because it had to be that evening, that night. It wasn't something I'm trying to manifest tomorrow. It was that night. We're in the car already. The feel of the experience first for your career, for this transition that you're desiring to make. Identify the feeling. I know what it feels like to be in a position that is right for me, in which I am not only utilizing my skills that I'm excited about and have been inspired to, but able to grow and develop even more and expand even more. The experience of my coworkers is excellent. The culture of the organization is excellent. I'm able to achieve my financial goals. That's excellent. I'm able to have the time schedule that's perfect for me. That's excellent. And all of these things are the feeling. And then you begin to identify those details, right, that are born of the feeling. And then people start showing up. Hey, we're going to use your tag. Hey, Las Vegas, Nevada, 2939. You know what? Somebody was telling me about a position. They don't even know you're looking for a job or a new change in your career. Hey, I heard that such and such was hiring. And in your body, you're like, oh, really? These type things start happening in your experience, drawing you closer and closer to the position that is right for you, that is aligned with you. But it started from just identifying the feeling and then being open to the information coming to you, being open in your awareness in all directions to anything and everything that shows up in your experience that's related to your intention. Catching it, writing it down if need be, starting to make a list of this happened, this was said, this happened, this was said, I called, found out more information on that, it doesn't feel quite right, this happened, and you're following, and you're following, and you're following. And the funny thing is, we know that you have done this, whether you're aware of it or not. You have done this already from an intention standpoint all the way through to the materialization of the experience. You just may not have been aware of it. And that's what this is about. Being aware of these experiences and how these things play out, and then becoming more and more aware, because you can't control the play out. The only thing you're in control of is your alignment on the inside. The inner creative process. That's the only thing you're in control of. That is what dictates the play out that's external to you. So yeah, all that to say, start with the feeling. Doesn't matter whether you have the details. Hold the feeling, and in your imagination, play with what it might look like. Identify all of the areas around the idea that are important to you. And just continue to get more and more clear. And as you get more and more clear, be open and aware of the information that starts showing up in your experience. It'll be information first. Start being aware, acutely aware of any information that starts showing up in your experience in relationship that you know is aligned and in relationship to your intention. That's evidence of the materialization on approach. Does that make sense? Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else? All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, again, thank each of you who have participated in the creation of this interaction. We're thankful for those of you who have found this recording and allowed us to be of support in that manner. We're excited for each of you. We love you very much. We will be back tomorrow at 12 Eastern Standard Time, and then we will be around the social media areas, but we will be approaching the Thanksgiving holiday in this part of the world, and so we will be back next week after tomorrow. If you are inspired, if you're available, we'd love to see you here again tomorrow. If not, have a fantastic rest of your week, and we will talk to you soon.